Thanks for tuning in, coaches, and welcome back to another episode, the Rising Coaches Podcast. Alan Major here, Doug Caputo. We're ecstatic to be able to get another opportunity to chop it up, talk some hoops, and learn from the best. Right? We are here and wanted to first, before I give any introduction, I want to make sure to give a quick shout out to something that we have been working on. I know I mentioned this in every episode, and you're going to keep hearing it until the event happens, right? U.S. Nike basketball camp, Snow Valley basketball camp, and Westmont College. We have a collab in Santa Barbara, California, for all the coaches out there on July 22nd. Make sure to make it out to California. You can sign up for our event on the website. You can sign up through our social media, right? We have a lot of high-end coaches going to be there and being able to talk about their experiences, just as you're here to listen to some people's experiences, such as Coach Jarvis Hayes. We are here to get the opportunity with the current assistant coach and a longtime former NBA standout and professional player all across the world, right? I know you've had a lot of great opportunities, but ladies and gentlemen, current assistant, Georgia State University, Coach Jarvis Hayes. Coach Hayes, welcome.
Hey, man. Thank you guys for having me, man. I really do appreciate it.
You got it.
Going absolutely amazing as mine. And like I say, if it's good to be any better, I could be you too.
Well, we're happy to be able to get an opportunity with you. I know we said before, but you have had a tremendous playing experience. And one thing that especially coaches can learn from, not only because you have a great coaching background as well, but you've been a player, right? You've seen both sides of it. So you can give the perspective from a player's perspective to a coach's perspective. So I think that's huge and pivotal for a lot of people to listen to, especially people who have maybe not had the playing experiences. But throughout your career, you played under a lot of different head coaches and a lot of different assistant coaches with different styles, different types of coaching tendencies. Like, what type of coaching styles, if you really look back, what styles really resonated with you the most? What did you feel clicked with you, and what kind of coaching tendencies?
Yeah, well, what worked for me was tough coaching, right? Like, even when I was from a peewee to college, and even in some teams in the league, I resonated well to really, really, really tough coaching. And in today's kids, doesn't necessarily work so well all the time. You have certain kids who like you can coach hard and you can kind of push, push the buttons because, like resonating on when I was a player, the coaches that pushed my buttons was the coach that got the best out of me. Honesty was always big with me, regardless if I liked it or not. I felt like if a coach was being honest with me, regardless of how I felt about it, then the choice was up to mine to either, adhere, try harder, or whatever the case may be. So for me, the toughness of coaching pushed me. And like I say, as now I'm transitioning into the coaching profession, going into my 8th year, it's been kind of hit or miss. It's been kind of up and down. Some guys, instead of having a one-tone fits all kids, it's almost like it's a la carte. This kid can take it, this kid may not can take it. So it's finding that balance between what drives these kids, because they all got different motivations. But one thing that I pride myself on in the message and getting across to them is all of them can resonate on the path that I've gone. Right? They all want to go down the same path. So I just try to find the right balance between what makes those guys tick and try to hammer on that. And it's different for each guys. Fair and equal ain't the same. And I try to treat everybody fair, not equal.
Yeah, you just hit on something that coaches are always trying to figure out. And even coaches that have maybe done this a long time, now, like you said, you're coaching kids that just have a different approach. How is that? How has that made you better from going from, you've dealt with fire and brimstone, here in the past. How have you adjusted now to kind of find that middle path?
Well, it has taught me patience.
Okay.
And most professional athletes, at least that I've talked to that has coached, sometimes the patience could be a little bit on the short fuse. And actually, it's two things: me having kids, and going through the fire with coaching these kids, having a little patience, knowing that everybody's not going to get it, as quickly as I did when I played. So, it's being more demonstrative in my approach, watch film with them and get them to see the errors in their own ways. But patience is something that I didn't necessarily have when I started almost a decade ago. And it has changed quite sharply.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, man, because it's funny. Coaches almost get too much credit for developing players, and I think players develop coaches as
Absolutely.
much as coaches develop players.
No
So
doubt about it.
these guys are developing you as you go,
Right?
right? Like, because you know what your message is, but like you said, some guys need the message delivered on the front welcome mat, nice and neat. Some guys can take the brick through the front window.
The mentality going towards success is always the same, but the approach is always different. No approach is the same, but the mentality that you have is pretty much the same across all levels of success. How do you get that out of individuals? I guess that's the burning question. And so many times, and now I was a victim of this when I first started. So many times you just relied on your own I just relied on my own experiences and my own path and just tried to cookie cutter and translate that to the kids that I was coaching. And it just didn't work. You just meet resistance. And for me, and I'm still, like I say, I'm still developing as a coach, like my coaching, my best being who I am giving of these kids is almost like, yes, I can coach a kid who may not be ready to receive what I have, because as long as I stay in it with him, then he'll be able to open up and receive what I have. I can't force the knowledge. I can't make them see it. I just got to stay in there with them. And, at some point, based on the relationship that we build, it comes with a level of trust that allows me to coach the kid the way I need to coach him and the way he needs me to coach him for him to be successful. So that wasn't always easy for me. That wasn't always easy.
No, I love that, man. That's so good. Yeah, the beauty of that, though, is the same competitor in you that was on the floor is now going to find a way to compete to get better at the very thing that we're talking about. So that's the thing. Like, those same competitive juices that made you a hell of a player are going to make you a better coach, because you're competing against developing your voice and finding a way to reach each guy. So those same juices are going to get kicked in, as you move forward. So
another thing that I've learned is, like, especially being a former player, now a coach, is being able to admit your mistakes. Like, I have experienced some coaches along the way that, for whatever reason or not, it was their word, and mistake, good, bad, and different, whatever, maybe it's the coach's word. I've learned, for me at least, it helps with me and my interaction with the kids. Like, when I make a mistake, hey, that one's on me, right? Exactly. In the moment, I tell the guys, when you're coaching, you coach in the moment, you get heated or whatever it may be. And I always tell my guys, in the moment, don't respond. But when I go back and watch the film, if I made a mistake, I come to you like a man and I tell you I made a mistake. It's being able to admit when you make mistakes, because coaches aren't perfect. We're in this thing together, right?
No doubt.
Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody missees or misreads or have game plans that maybe necessarily didn't work, and maybe you should have tried something different. In this day and age, I think being more transparent with these guys about the process of what it takes to win and the preparation that it takes to win, and having that open dialogue, it's helping me, at least. I know everybody is not going to resonate with it, but at least for me, the transparency in making mistakes is kind of breaks down a barrier.
For sure. That's a big step, man. Big step.
It's a huge step. And I'm so glad you said that, because I mean, as soon as you said it, I thought of a story recently. Like, it was this past season, a kid made a mistake. I went over, I said, look, this is what you did. This is what you got to do. Like, learn from it. He goes, that's not what happened. I was like, I just saw it after the fact, went back, watched film, came up to him. Literally, to your point, I said, listen, I was wrong. My bad. He literally looked at me and goes, no, it's fine. No big deal. And he's like, but I appreciate you for saying that. And then like ever since then, you could tell like his demeanor has changed a little bit. Now, obviously we had a good relationship beforehand, but exactly to your point, like put the ego aside at points and being able to realize like, I screwed up, man. My bad. Like we're human beings at the end of the day. You're not going to make a perfect game every single. You're not throwing a no hitter every time you go out there, right? You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. So
and you've had an 8-year coaching career, as you said. You've had a 12-year professional playing career. I mean, you've seen a wide range of different playing. You've been in the NBA with the Wizards, with the Pistons, with the Nets, and then I mean, you've had time Turkey, Russia, Israel, Italy, Romania, right? And then obviously you had a college career, Western Cali, over to Georgia. So to your point is a lot of those guys, I'm sure, on your team are trying to get that opportunity to not only, of course, everybody wants to play in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Even my D3 guys want to play in the NBA all the time. But but then like everybody wants that next opportunity. So for you to be able to resonate that, like, do you feel, so you said honesty and tough coaching. Do you feel like there's a lot of times you're kind of using that more to speak with the guys? Like, do you feel like you give the tough coaching, or it all just depends on the person and how they
I think it's a balance. You know, the toughness part, the brutal honesty. Yes, I'm always brutally honest. Now the message and where it comes out is different based on the relationship with the player and me getting to know and breaking down those barriers. You know, some guys you can be brutally honest with, and some guys you just, unfortunately, they have to see the error of their ways and want to receive help. Now, you try to give advice, you try to coach best way you can. Some would be allergic to it, some would be more receptive to it. In the grand scheme of coaching a group or a position group that like I have here at Georgia State, it's like the ones that receive you have to pour into, and the ones who are allergic, you have to continue to invite. Right. And the inviting part isn't necessarily like you're holding a hand, but it's like it's a little olive branch here, a little olive branch here. At some point, you're gonna have to break because I'm not against you. You know, a lot of these, the background of most of these kids that we get to coach, they hadn't necessarily had a lot of male figures in their life to be able to, interact with them in a what they think is a confrontational way. But true love and true, like if I feel for you, then I'm going to coach you hard. If I have certain expectations of you, then I'm going to coach you hard, right? That aspect of it hasn't necessarily been ingrained in most of these kids, and it's not a negative or a positive. It just is, right?
Right.
And
that's a society thing. That's just societal.
Yeah, that's just what it is. So having a negative outlook or a positive outlook about something that just is wrong in and of itself. It just is. And like I say, like my interaction with you guys, my interaction with this player, it's not the same. Like my favorite quote to these guys is fair and equal is not the same. Right? The only thing that you can want is fairness. It's nothing in life is equal.
Right. Equal is that part is almost got to be earned.
Yeah.
Like the fairness part is, hey, you're going to coach everybody and you're going to give,
like coaching everybody the same. I want my better shooter shooting. Like, you're not a good shooter. I don't want you shooting the ball. That's not me picking on you. That's like, if you're a better rebounder than you're a 3-point shooter, I want you to rebound. I don't want you shooting threes. So you kind of got to break it down to them elementary, in that sense, and get them to know that criticism isn't picking. Like, criticism is, it should be digested in a way to you can continue to build, because no one is perfect. Like I say, there's no perfect player. And the moment you feel like that you are who you want to be, is the moment you start sliding backwards.
No question. It's funny. Context is so important. So, like if I'm coaching you and you may be able to kind of take it out in front of everybody. Like I may be able to have to because in the moment you have to hear it and there's not time to maybe, say it later, because the moment requires that you hear it now. And that might have to be in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Some other guys, like if I'm coaching Doug, I might say, hey, Doug, man, come here for a second. I'm like, hey, man, like when the shot goes up, you got to get back and protect the rim. So he heard but I may have to say, hey, Jarvis, man, shot goes up. and everybody hears it, Doug might have to have this like, hey, Doug, man, shot goes up. You got to get back and protect the rim.
And let me, and I hate,
So,
no.
But there's a context. There's a context to it, though.
Like, but what you're describing right now, like, because of how I was wired for the coach to call me out in front of everybody.
Yes.
Because for me, I wasn't necessarily a vocal leader, but if I only could get corrected with the coach, and like I said, you're 1000% right with knowing who you're coaching. Some guys you can coach out in front, some guys you might have to pull to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But the role that I had on every team I played on up into the league, I took it as a requirement to be the example.
Yes.
So if it was a requirement to be the example, the coaches couldn't whisper corrections in my ear.
Yeah, bring it on. At that point,
I had to, because I could digest it, and I could then go listen, and I can apply, right? So that then gave me the ammunition, because I led by example more so than my voice.
Yes.
So it gave me the ammunition to have guys, one, want to play with me, and two, want to follow me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, but like you say, you're 100% right. I've had kids, and I'm not going to name, here at Georgia State, and every year that I'm going into my 7th year here at Georgia State, and I've had kids almost every year I've been here. Your interactions with them were different, right? I've had literally the kid to where, you try to coach them hard out in front. Come on, you can't do that, and then they go into a shell. So I was like, so we're doing a drill in practice. I just call them to the side, put my arms around them, say, now, come on now. You got to, you got to do this now. I don't want to say it in front of everybody, but I'm telling you, come on now, kick it up. Whatever it is, whatever the communication was.
Right.
And, and I, like I say, that was the hard part. Like being able to not make corrections in front of the group with every kid, and being able to, okay, well, he's different. So let me, I got to try to reach this kid a little bit differently than I have in the past. And like I say, that has not always been easy.
No, that's
the competitive nature in me now almost comes out even more. The fact that I can't play anymore than I did when I played, because like it's a weird dynamic. Like I get so intense on game days, and I can't eat. Almost the anticipations that I had when I was a player, it's like it's heightened by 10 now, and it's sometimes it gets uncontrollable. So, but that's how I know I'm in the right field now in my post career.
Yeah,
no question. No question. But you're right. I mean, before Doug gets to his next question, that male, female, Mars, Venus, how guys are brought up, it is different, right? Because, a mom, an auntie, and a grandmother, God bless them for what they've done to shepherd these guys.
Yeah.
If they've had to be raised by that particular dynamic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on those women's highest and best days, it's still hard for them to be to provide what a male can.
It's hard.
And that's the hard. So then guys come in with that void, and now you're trying to see how you can help maybe fill that void on the fly, literally, like on the fly.
Yeah.
And so I know we're getting into sociology here, but literally that's part of what we have to do is what in their rearview mirror has led them to this point, and how do these guys thrive? And they've had to thrive sometimes by being surrounded by females.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not their fault. It's just, like you said, that's society. Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that, man, because people that follow us and listen to us, that's gonna touch a good nerve in a good way.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm sure you being a player, being the player who could take the hard coaching, you probably look back on it now, and especially as a coach, you probably realize it more. But at least as the player, you were the one taking those hits, and like you learned a ton from that, and you probably look back and say like, thank you for doing that. Looking back on the coach, like, thank you for being hard on me, because it made me be who, at least I can say that. I don't want to speak for you.
I mean, like, no. I mean, like, I didn't even consider it hard. It was just,
it was truth. Yeah, it
That's
was
what I'm
was
saying.
just
It
yeah.
was just honest, right?
Yeah.
You know, like it's hard for me when I play to go through life that regardless of how I felt, I mean, because this is just the glass half full for me and my mentality, because I think everything is mental, how you break it down. Like even if I vehemently disagreed with what a coach thought of what his assessment was, I sat back and was like, well, what does he has to gain by lying?
Mm-hmm.
First, what does he have to gain by telling me something that's not true, even if it's from his vantage point?
Right.
Right. So even if I thought what I did was, I thought it was the correct way, if my coach is telling me a way to do it to make me better, I looked at it as a way to get better, not that I was doing it wrong. Because for
Right.
me, there is no wrong in this thing if you got effort, right? Because for one, effort makes up for a lot of mistakes. And
Oh yeah.
as a player, you know, at least I try to lean on now that I'm coaching my own experience, because for me the greatest teacher in life is experience, and
No doubt.
it's a lot of guys that have great, you know, it's a lot of great coaches that don't have experience. I'm not knocking that, because like, you know, a lot of people put in the work, hard sweat and tears to be good at their job, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but it's a different level of experience when you've actually lived it. And I rely on my past experiences of living this life playing basketball and being coached hard, and the experience that I came from, and the experience of watching my teammates. And you know, you watch your teammates and knowing what things to do, but I think it's equally important to watch your teammates to know what not to do as well too,
Yeah. No
right?
question.
So, you know, like at the end of the day, I took it as a responsibility, because for one, I love the game, and I took it as a responsibility knowing the my role on most of the teams that I've played on came with a responsibility to accept it,
Yeah.
regardless if I liked it or not.
Right. Right. Yeah. And they were injecting your leadership by doing
Yeah,
that. So by them like kind of being able to tell you the truth out in the open, it was actually fueling your ability to lead because you
right.
could handle it, number one, and then you were enough talented enough and good enough to go and apply it
And I apply it.
and
Yeah,
change it.
yeah,
So as a result, guys say, okay, well, if he can take the truth like that, and then he can still go play hard with coach
yeah,
riding him like that, like
yeah,
I don't really have anything to say. I got to follow this guy.
yeah, yeah,
So it actually fuels your leadership,
yeah.
without maybe at the time you didn't realize it, but you look
It's
back
true
now.
buy-in. It's true buy-in more so than, you know, like, and I take my hat off to my parents, James and Yvonne Hayes. I take my hat off, like, and because they always put us in, you know, environments around coaches that not only we could trust, but they could trust, right? So
Mm,
anytime you see the interaction between your parents and your coaches is in a positive light, and the coaches are going to coach you hard, then, you know, because I'm not saying I didn't have bad days and went and told my mom and my dad, and I wanted them to jump in for me. The fact that they never jumped in
ooh,
actually made me who I am today, because long as they didn't mistreat me, call me out my name, or put their hands on me, there was nothing for me to run and tell my parents. And they made that abundantly clear. So the line of communication between parent, me, and coaches was always in alignment, because I had no salt. I was like most kids when I was younger. You know, most kids, you know, they like to take the like running water, the path of least resistance. And
right.
I was no different. And you know, my mom and my dad and the family that I grew up in, they was the rock in the pond that made me go another direction.
Mm, wow, that's powerful.
I love
Can't have.
that.
We need more of that in our society today,
Yeah,
man. No question.
yeah.
Mm,
Were your parents coaches too, or did they just understand the game? They just understood the
My dad played football. He didn't play basketball. My mom
okay.
wasn't an athlete. Um, you know, like I say, and it's something that my brother and I we hang our hats on now. We value relationships more than expertise, right? So, like, if like the way we was raised, if you're around good people, right? Because everybody has a different way to teach the game of basketball, whatever it may be. But if you're around good people that allow you to make your mistakes and develop a love for the game, because I feel like for me, I think a lot of, and I don't know if this off topic, but it's just on my heart. Like you look at this grassroots basketball now, and you see kids getting ranked in 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. To me, that's a grave disservice to these young kids, because for one, like, you have to build up enough love equity in the game first, right? Like, yeah, you can take them to training or whatever it may be, and whatever be, but the message to these kids has to be love, right? I think a lot of parents miss the boat trying to say they want their kids to love the game, but they want them to love it the way they loved it. That's not the case, right?
Or they want them to love it. They want them to love it on their behalf.
On their behalf, right?
Yeah.
So you have to let these kids grow into who they are, build their own love equity, because if they're any good, eventually it's going to become tough, right? It's going to become days where you ain't going to want to get up, you're not going to train, you're not going to want to play, whatever it may be. And the only thing you can hope is you got enough love equity at that point to be able to push you through when it's ultimately going to get tough, right? And it's more than just about making shots. The greatest shooters in the world miss half their shots. So why am I concerned if my son misses a shot, like miss a layup? NBA players miss layups. They miss dunks. They airball free throws. Like, so, I think it's society. This is no one person in particular, but the way society is now, it makes these kids more transactional, and a lot of kids look at the results of what they want instead of just loving it.
Yes.
They look at what the game can do for them instead of just loving it, right? Everybody wants to chase money, but if you chase love, money will chase you.
Powerful.
Big
time.
I love that.
No doubt, man.
No, I like that a lot. Now, I was going to say, you definitely have to learn how to be able to fail. And that's the one thing, like, I mean, everybody always says it. Oprah, the story of Oprah and all that stuff, like how she was supposed to do a bunch of things, completely got turned away, ended up, I mean, we all are sitting here talking about her, right? Like, we know who she is. I mean, I can even say, like, very similar. My mom listens to these all the time, so she'll perk up when she hears this. There was one of those pyramid scheme jobs right out of college, and somebody contacted me. Oh, we want you to be in the pyramid scheme, like, but I didn't know what it was, and I was like, I was telling my parents. My mom's sitting there. You can tell she's like a little about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try this. Like, I have no idea what it is. Like, this is somebody was hooking me up with a job. Sum it up, basically, I was gonna do it, and I was like, what do you think about it? She goes, well, you know what, just try it out. Turns out, she goes, I'm glad you turned it away, but I wanted you to try it because it's not what you want to do long term. I know you're not going to like it, but I want you to try it because it wouldn't have been what you wanted, and I wanted to see you at least find out for yourself and fail at it first. And I was like, I'm like, damn, you wanted me to fail, and then I started thinking about it.
That's the only way you can truly learn.
That's right.
Like, yeah, you're never going to learn if you never allow yourself to fail.
Yeah.
Like, you have to fail. You have to pick yourself back up, because how do you know not to do something again? How do kids know not to touch a hot stove? They first have to touch it. So you look at the people who, and Steve Harvey said this, and this is one of the greatest quotes he said. Now I'm finna butcher how he said it, so I'm not saying it.
We will quote you on
it. Said it, so I'm finna tear it up. It's like you got two guys standing on top of a mountain with parachute. One is scared to jump. The other one jumps, opens his parachute, and he lives the rest of his life. The guy who didn't jump, now I told you I'm butchering this, so hopefully you can understand what I'm saying. Like, the guy that didn't jump don't know what could have his life, he lived a basic, he lived good or whatnot, but you never knew what could, because he was afraid to jump. He was afraid to fail. Right? So you can't be afraid to fail. And I tell this, and that's one of the things, like, especially with my kids, I never wanted them to see me at a game and they see my face frowned up because they missed a shot. Right? Never wanted them to see that. So I wanted them to have the confidence in themselves to play freely and play fun. Like the only time I jumped their tail, guys, is when I felt like they wasn't going hard enough. When I felt like
Yeah.
they were slacking. The only thing as a child, more than anything, up to the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you coaching effort as your coach.
Mhm.
You're getting them to understand playing hard. It ain't about how many points you can make at 10 years old. It's not how many buckets you can make at 11 or 9. It's just simply playing hard, right? Because, like, and it's kind of the flip. You coach effort early, then you can coach the skill. That's a lot of kids right now that worked on skill so much earlier,
Yes.
and they have the skill set, they have the athleticism, they have everything that you want in a player, but they don't play hard,
Hmm.
right? And talent, and like for me, when you talk about playing hard and effort, it's either the equalizer or the separator. You can have you can have two kids. One is a little bit more talented than the other, but the lesser talented kid works harder. He's going to be a better player than the pure talented kid who doesn't work hard.
That's right.
So,
No doubt.
like I say, talent is either the separator or it's going to be the equalizer.
Yeah, man. No, that's
Effort.
so true. Yeah, I mean, you said something earlier that even at the college level, we got to make sure as coaches we don't miss out on, and that's they say because kids specialize so young now. I played different sports. My mom and dad
Mhm.
encouraged me play different sports. We played whatever was going on that time of the year,
Whatever season it was.
season you're in. You were playing it. And now with kids specializing so much so quickly year round, the statistic now that's disturbing in America is 70% of kids walk away from sports by age 13
Because it becomes
to
a job
to
too soon.
never and they never touch it again. Exactly right. So they lose that love, and whatever love they may have started with, they lose it, they burn out, and they really lose the joy of just
Hmm.
playing. Like
Hmm.
I'd go to the park and we play pickup, play to 11, ones and twos or whatever it is. And like, it wasn't, you just played. Like it wasn't, nothing was
Yeah,
getting
you don't see
posted.
that a lot nowadays. You don't see a
Nothing,
lot of kids playing on the
and,
blacktop these
and
days.
nothing was getting posted on social media
Right.
how I did. Nobody, I didn't have a trainer. I didn't have, my mom and dad didn't think I was missing out on something if I wasn't doing what this kid did. Like
Yeah.
there was a joy there. And we have to make sure, even at the college level, that is transactional now more than ever.
Hmm.
Uh, that guys and ladies, we have to make sure that number one, we don't lose the honor of coaching, but then they don't lose the joy of hooping.
That's right.
Because do we got to
Absolutely right.
win and lose? Is it still a business? Yeah, we know it all. It's all a business, but there's got to be a joy there. Like that's really when everybody started picking the ball up. That's what it was. It was fun, and we can't let them lose that,
Can't let
especially
them lose it.
now more than ever.
Yeah. Can't let them lose it. And that, like I said, that's the hardest part of the puzzle. You know, like you get these kids 18 to 22 years old, and the game is getting older now, and you try to reach certain kids, and the toughest part about coaching is not reaching all of them. And sometimes you want everybody to get it. You want everybody to realize their dreams and their aspirations. But the harsh reality of it, that's not true.
Hmm.
And as a coach, you know, another thing that was hard for me to settle on, and I'm 1000% good with it now, is as a coach, the lessons that you teach these kids. As a coach, you have to be comfortable with them becoming the best version of themselves, not under your coaching.
Yeah, you may not see their
You know,
best.
right? So you
Yeah.
can't, right? You. That's just a reality in this business.
Hmm.
That when I looked at it, it was hard, and you kind of wish you can you know realize their potential under yourself, but wanting to see everybody's potential under myself, it doesn't allow me to give them what they need to become what they ultimately going to become.
Yeah.
Because if I hold back with the fear of losing them, then that's only bad for the kid,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But if I'm coaching
Wow.
the kid and I'm trying to get the best version of myself, as long as I'm true and honest with my intent and my purpose,
Yeah.
then You might lose that kid, but if he goes somewhere else and later in life you can see him successful, right? You mean like that's just something that you just have to be like you were in that kid's life for a reason, and whatever it is, you know, you know, maybe if it, just because it didn't work out, don't mean you wasn't a great part of that kid's ultimate success.
Yeah, no question. Yeah,
Because
you got it.
sometimes it is the failure that fuels some kids. And like I say, I love all of them. I love all of them the same. Even though it's I said the same, but the same for them and what they need. I like for me, like I try to connect to them more so because this game is so transactional. I try not to be transactional. So the time that I spend with them, I invite a few of them over to my house. I invite a few of them to my kids' games, and go get food in the neighborhoods that I grew up here in Atlanta. So, like it's a psychology of the thing is to where, what you really want out of a kid, you can't make it obvious, right? If I want you to become the best basketball player that you can become, I can't make our relationship all about basketball.
Exactly right.
Right. Like I came from a school to where, to some degree, it was all about basketball. You couldn't have any other interest. I want these guys to know it's okay that you have other interests. That's okay. Like that's a balancing act that everybody needs. Everybody needs.
Yeah, that's the outlet.
Right.
They
It's
have
an
an outlet.
Everybody needs to have this. It's like compartmentalization. Like you have to be able to compartmentalize issues, right? Because choosing to ignore issues don't make them go away.
Right. That's right.
Like so you have to be able to focus on basketball, be able to focus on academics, be able to focus on your girlfriend, be able to focus on your family or whatever it may be.
Yeah. NIL responsibilities.
NIL responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right? So if you give each aspect of your life the proper attention, they don't have to be in one box. There is never one box. Right. You have to be able to compartmentalize every aspect of your life. So when it's time to focus on one aspect, you can give it its undivided attention.
Yeah. There's one word for that, and hopefully kids will figure that out. That's professionalism.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
That's the essence of professionalism right there. Is can you be at your best when your best is needed?
Yeah, that's a John Wooden. That's from a John. That's a John.
Yeah, Wooden. And with whoever's supposed to receive your best.
Yeah, that's part of the college game is changing to that fact that they're going to have to start being programs geared towards this part because we can't continue to ignore the changing landscape of college athletics, and and obviously it depends on the level and then what most schools can afford or whatever it may be, but the demands of what these athletes need now, we have to be able to give them that support, financial literacy. You have to be able to give them the whatever it is.
Sure.
Because most of these kids are coming across amount of money that is life changing.
Learning how to speak in front of groups.
Like speaking in front of groups and like most of these kids being
master your handshake.
Yeah, sponsored in high school and sponsored in college. So it's a way you handle yourself. And regardless of how anybody feels, perception is reality. Getting them to understand that people will know about you before they actually know you. So how do you present yourself matters.
Yes, sir.
Right. So all of these things need to be, it need to be talked about a little bit more up front. And I'll be quite honest with you guys, as much as I love the coach, I love what we're talking about now. I love this aspect more because if I'm just speaking of just a coach, I have a lot to learn. Like I said, I play for a lot of different coaches. I'm not married to one system. I'm more set based than I am a system based, like quick hitters, like the NBA. That's who I'm ingrained. That's who I am. So just from a straight basketball standpoint, it's a lot of developing that I got to do. But it's two things that I love to do. I love building relationships and I love talking life about these kids because for me, the fact that I know that I've traveled a way that most of these kids want to go, I know they watch me more than they listen to me.
Absolutely.
So if I know they watching me, now I want them to see how I interact with my kids. I want them to see how I interact with, the people around every day and how you operate as a professional, right? So
That's it.
being able to give them nuggets, even though my path might be different, the path might be different, but the steps are the same.
Yeah,
Like,
no doubt, man.
like the path to going, like the hard work, dedication, perseverance, compartmentalization that you need is different now than when I played 20 years ago. But the steps are exactly the same. And the part that I resonate with being around these kids, because I don't throw this information out on my kids. I don't, like on the players that I coach. I don't throw it out there and say, I don't browbeat based on my experiences. It kind of happens organically and transparently. I never talk about that. I mean, I got pictures in my office about my playing career that I'm proud of. I do. I love it.
Of course.
But that doesn't lead my message.
Yeah, you're not kicking down the door with it. Exactly.
I'm not
holding it in front of their face.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not leading through the door with that. And
Mhm.
over time, they'll come sit in my office and we'll just talk about life. We'll just talk about whatever issues that they have. And I always try to be the devil's advocate, not taking the side, not being against, not being for, but give them another perspective. And that perspective always leads back to them.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can only control what you can control. Right. So, like, speaking to these kids in this sense, yes, I'm a coach, guys. I love basketball. I love to be around basketball. Like, I love talking basketball, putting teams together. But being in these kids' life, knowing that, you can have some type of impact on their journey means more to me than just inside the lines.
No doubt. No, because ball is a small slice of what they're ultimately going to become. It's a pathway and it's an avenue for them, but they're going to be professionals for somebody in some way, shape, or form when the ball stops bouncing. So I think it's a golden opportunity where we are right now in this landscape to fast track professionalism for them.
Absolutely.
With them, walk with them, alongside of them, behind them, in front of them, whatever that looks like. We can fast track their ability to be professionals.
We have to adjust. The college game has to adjust because it's different.
It's different.
Times are different. We have to adjust.
So we can help them with that as opposed to complaining about it or wishing it was different. Let's help fast track their professionalism in terms of, go buy 2 suits. Because when you go speak to this alumni thing as part of your NIL agreement, show up in a suit.
Yeah.
You're gonna walk in the room and it's gonna be different versus showing up in a sweatsuit.
Oh yeah, and slide.
Yeah, exactly. So this is professionalism though. Yeah. So I know, Dougie, we kind of got way off the rails there with that.
No, not at all. But
no, I mean, we have a golden opportunity right now to help, help these kids kind of navigate this landscape, and it's going to benefit them long term, way more than basketball.
Oh yeah.
In many ways.
Listen, I played 12 years. I retired when I was 35 years old. Come on now. What the hell am I going to do? Fuse my legs. What am I going to do for the rest of my life?
Right. You got 50 years left.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like it's a lot bigger than this. It's a lot bigger than this. It's a lot bigger than this. We need to help these kids take the pressure off themselves by letting them know that it's okay. Like, let's tie their emotions to something that they actually can control. Exactly. And that's their effort. Right. Like to me, and Tim, this came from Tim Grover and watching, Michael Jordan films or whatnot. And he said, he came across some kids that felt like the price was too steep for working out or putting in the effort. And, the cost of regret is a hell of a lot higher.
Oh,
right. Like if you just choose to give it your all and you don't get where you ultimately want to go, that doesn't make you a failure because now you gave it your all.
Yeah.
But all the pain that you're going to feel if you held back, never knew if you could have made it.
No doubt.
Like my definition of success to these kids isn't whether you make it to the league or not. Is you commit yourself to the process it takes to get. You know how hard it is to commit yourself. It's just been over 5,000 people who've ever played in the league, right? So over 75 years, the league has been around. There's a little bit over 5,000 people that was played in there. So do you know how committed you have to be to something that only less than 1% of people do.
Right. That's right.
Right. So your commitment has to meet the odds, not just your will and just your want to. Right. So your commitment has to be for one pure. And like I say, if you don't make it and you commit it, that does not make you a failure.
No.
Yeah.
The only failure is if you quit.
That's right. Right. You didn't max yourself out.
Right.
Max yourself out and then let it take you where it takes
Then live
you.
with the results. And I promise you, if you max yourself out and you live with the results are going to be great, even if it doesn't mean that you're playing.
No
because
doubt.
Maxing yourself out, committing yourself to anything worth committing to, 100% of the time, it's going to translate to something else. It's going to translate to something else.
1,000%.
Like it doesn't matter. Committing 100% to something. That to basketball, that transcends sports, because you'll be able to translate that to every aspect of your life.
No doubt. No doubt.
So the true success is commitment. It's commitment. That's
it's the hardest thing to do.
You're right. That's what I'm saying. That's
the hardest thing to do, to wake up some mornings and be like, exactly. I mean, you said this earlier, but like to be able to wake up and be like, you know what? I'm going to go get a nice hour workout in, or I'm going to go get a 2-hour workout in. And then like, once you get yourself there, like there's been days, I mean, I'm sure we can all say it, right? There's been days where you're like, I'm not going to get a workout in today. After that day is over, it feels like personally, I feel like I let myself down.
Absolutely.
You're like, let one get away.
Yeah, and then you're like, now I got to get back on track. Now I got to figure it out again. Now I got to start all over again. But then you do that one day, even if you just show up. Somebody told me this one time, and it was said, they said, yeah, you get that. Somebody told me one time, they said somebody started a lifting program, but by 1 minute a day. And I was like, what does that mean? They said what they did was they would wake up early, they would go to the weight room, and they would stand there for 1 minute, then leave. And then after that, as the weeks go on, you go 10 minutes, you go 20 minutes, you go 30, then you get to what you want after about a week or two. And then, but the purpose of that 1 minute was to show up. That's the hardest thing, is people don't show up. And right there,
that's it.
Just showing up.
If you just show up, doesn't matter how good you are, doesn't matter the mistakes you make, just showing up is a win. Just showing up and consistently showing up. If you consistently just show up, you're going to be able
to put the effort in. Number 2 was put the effort in off of what you said. You said it earlier. Make sure you put that effort in, because then once you actually show up, well, then you can't just BS around. Then you got to actually do.
Right.
Now you're halfway home. If you show up, the battles, it's halfway home.
Just showing up. If you got anything in you for this game, if you got anything in you about being better, just showing up. It's hard to show up every day and do nothing.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
It's hard to show up, and that you could look at that a lot of different ways with everything, your marriage and what. Just show up every day, be authentically yourself, and like for me, and like I say, and a lot of coaches and trainers probably wouldn't want me to say this right now, but sometimes what you just said, like sometimes showing up and doing nothing is okay. Literally, I want you to understand what I'm saying. Sometimes showing up and doing nothing is okay, and not being chastised for it. Because you know what? If you show up and not do nothing and not be chastised, you might lengthen your curve. You might make it a little bit longer to get better, but you're going to come back, right? As a coach, if I want you to show up to the gym and get some work, and I see you finally come to the gym, but you not want to work, and I chastise you, you're not going to want to come back.
Yeah.
But if you come to the gym and I say, hey, man, good to see you today, man.
Yeah.
But you don't do anything. You come back tomorrow. You might have the ball. You might be twirling it around on your hand, shooting shots up on the side. Around the 5th, 6th day, coach, can I jump in?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you build it. Like, so sometimes, yes, ultimately you're going to have to put in the work. But getting to that point, just show up.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like if you and the lesson of that, when you're at a job, just take basketball out of it. If you're at a job and you don't know what the hell you're doing, just show up early.
Right.
If you just show up, you'll figure out what it is you need to do. So showing up You'll be able to pick up some things. Showing up, you'll be able to watch other people, how they operate and what to do and what not to do. Right. So it's a lot of truth. And I don't know who told you that, but like I say, I tell my wife that all the time, because a lot of people ask me about my kids, about, well, what do you do? Well, I didn't do anything. I just brought them to work with me. I didn't ask them to do anything. I just brought them with me. I didn't make them do it. I just brought them with me.
He started picking up the ball. He probably, after the first day, probably sat in the bleachers, didn't want to talk to anybody. Second day, third day, pick up a ball, start dribbling around. And then little kid growing up 10 years down the line, now he's in the gym with you all the time. He's probably telling you, let's get in the gym.
He's telling me to get in the gym now.
Yeah.
Like, listen, the greatest thing in the world, and like my oldest son, he doesn't know this right now, and I'm gonna have to tell him. He's probably gonna listen to this. The greatest feeling in the world that both of my kids do now, they react towards me now. Like, I have a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I could be sitting downstairs tired from a long day of work. It's a difference between tired and exhausted. That's for another conversation. But tired from a long day's work, doing what you love to do, and I'm laying down trying to get some rest, whether I'm, watching film, whatever it is I'm doing, watching the game, and they call me and say, "Hey, Dad, let's go outside and get some shots up." Listen, boys.
That's music to your ears. Music to your ears, man.
There is no better feeling.
That's music to your ears.
That your kids, when they get to the ages that their kids are, my kids are right now, and they want me to shoot with them.
Yeah.
Or work them out. Or rebound for them. Whatever, fill in the blank.
Or just hang out with them.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah, just hang out.
There is no greater feeling.
Yeah, no doubt. 100%.
And what I love about this conversation, so we're going on to about a 50-minute conversation right now. What I absolutely love is you have not said one thing about basketball. And I'm saying that in a compliment. You know what I mean? Like, everything that you just said is one of the most, multiple of the things that you said are some of the most pivotal things to say and do as a coach, especially as a young coach, to move up. And we haven't even said one thing about basketball. So ultimately saying it's all exterior things, showing up, doing the work, putting in the time, being confident, being honest with the people around you. And as long as you do all of that, those opportunities will present themselves. That is literally everything we just said in a nutshell. It has nothing to do with basketball.
You can go get a ghost flare action anywhere.
Yeah.
But you can't get what we're sharing. And you can't get that anywhere. That's why we feel our pod's a little bit different, and we're okay with being a little different.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes, that's usually where you can find gold in places you don't expect it. And so that's what we like about our pod is, we'll talk ball from time to time. But the majority of what we're talking about is how can we make this profession better?
Yes.
And so if somebody comes on and me and Doug feel like is coaching, is the game going to be better after this person shuts the mic off? And that was answered 5 minutes into this conversation today. So we just stacked another 45 on top of it. But man, so good, man.
Man, I appreciate this. I love this.
No, this has been solid gold.
Well, Coach, I have to say, you can tell now. As I said, I know we were talking beforehand, but like one of my good friends, he was my point guard in college, Sean Flannery, obviously was over at Georgia State with you guys. I mean, yourself, like we've had 2 people from the program, and not that we thought anything other than, but you can tell just with the people that we've talked to, there's a lot of good stuff going on at Georgia State. Yeah. So you could just you know what I mean? And it all comes from just the way you portray and the what you say. And everything going on over there, because as we always say, it always starts from the man up top and then trickles down to the assistants, trickles down to everybody else, and so on. So you can tell there's a lot of good things going on over there at Georgia State.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask this because we usually typically wrap it up with one question, and what that question is really just putting you back into your first coaching position. Now, I understand you've only made 2 coaching stops so far, right? Extra from Georgia State, you were over at Morehouse. So with those 2 stops, you've had an 8-year coaching career, but even just overall, we were to put you back into your first coaching position, what advice would you give your younger self starting out in the profession?
Well, for one, I regret getting into the game so late because I never thought I would want to coach because I thought it was so X's and O's and so and so, so and so. And Jonas, my head coach here at Georgia State, he said, "Man, you're gonna be a coach one day. You're gonna be a coach one day." And I was like, I just don't see it. So I got my start actually before I got to Morehouse with the Atlanta Celtics AAU program here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl McRae was one of the legends in grassroots basketball. His son, Corey McRae, who was the associate head coach at Florida, he used to train me in the summers when I played in the league and overseas. And I was just in the gym getting towards the end of my career. My dad was sick. He had dementia. So I was contemplating whether if I wanted to go back and play or not. So Coach McRae came in the gym one day. Corey was training me, and it was like, "Hey man, since you're here, like until you go back, just come stick your head in with my guys, and you be around the team with me." And I was like, "I don't know if I want to coach. I don't know if that's in me." He was like, "It's okay, just come in, just see if you like it.
Just show up.
Just show up."
Nice.
So I showed up, and just like as you could tell, just like this conversation was very little about actual basketball. So I show up at the practice with the Celtics, and I'm floored by the conversations that these guys wanting to have with me. It wasn't about how high I can jump or how I shoot or like what he did. He say, "How did you do it? What did it take? Like, what was your mentality?" And I was like, okay, now, if me being a coach, I get to, because then I saw their eyes, like they're looking at me. I see they're engaged in whatever it is that I'm saying. And we ain't talking about how to close out or how to lead step or take a charge or footwork on a jump shot. We just simply talking about the mindset it takes to be successful. Basically, the conversation that we're having now, and the blood started to flow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I still got a lot to learn about X's and O's, whatever it may be. But being in kids' lives like this and having this type of impact on them it's unbelievable for me.
Goosebumps, like the song. Yeah.
Goosebumps, yeah. So the regret that I would have is the fact that I doubted that I wanted to do it. Because when I played in the league, I went through the coaches program and the NBA PA coaches program. I went through all of that. Mm-hmm. And, great experiences, but in my back of my mind, I don't want to be a coach. Right. So the biggest regret that I have is not pursuing it sooner. Grave regret of mine. But I'm gonna make up for it some kind of way.
No, you
already have.
I was going to say, man, you were well on your way to that, man. This is I know Dougie's gonna land the plane here in a second, but man, just number one, thank you for jumping on. I haven't seen Jonas in a minute, so please tell him Alan Major said hello.
I will.
It's been a long minute since I've seen him, but always thought highly of him. And so this has just been so good for us, man, because you, without knowing it, you literally like hammered home every nail that we're always trying to promote on this platform. And really, and again, rising coaches got better today. That's all I know.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
This was solid gold, man.
I appreciate you.
That was great. I honestly, sometimes after these, once I get motivated and I'm like kind of get up in my seat a little bit and I'm like, all right, you know what? Now I got to go do something. That was going through my mind this whole time. I was like, as soon as this ends, I got to go do this and this. Like I'm starting to get motivated a little bit.
Just go grab a player. Just go grab a player after this. Like, yo, man, I don't care what you're doing, but let's hang out. Let's talk. You want to shoot? You want to go get a damn ice cream? I don't care, man. Let's just hang. Because none of this. Players first, players always. I say it all the time. None of this ticks. None of this goes down without them.
No.
There is no us.
Not sustainable without
them. Yeah. So whatever time is spent in helping them, helping the team, helping the head coach, that's time well spent, man. So
absolutely.
But players first Because if you help the players, you're helping your head coach. You help
Absolutely.
the players, you're helping your team.
Mhm.
So they're
Goes hand
always
in hand.
they're always at the top of that list. Yeah.
Now, I even had one of my players tell me recently, I've learned so much about the guys real quick. I'd say I learned so much about the guys this past. We transitioned from one head coach to another, and I'm fortunate to be able to stay on the staff. And some of the guys that talked to me got close with them, and it's like you learn so much more about in those conversations. But I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This was absolutely phenomenal, Coach. Thank you very much.
Man, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, everybody, make sure to keep an eye out next year for Georgia State. Right, we got big things going on down there. Be able to watch you guys and see what we got moving. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully me and Al can make a, if we ever get out on the road sometime or end up down that way. Yes, sir.
Take me to the varsity, man. I just want
the varsity.
I just want a varsity burger, man. That's all I want.
Everybody out there, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Rising Coaches Podcast. As always, Alan Major, Doug Caputo. And for all you coaches out there, keep working and keep rising and just show up. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Take care.